Hello, my Cancer, and welcome to your day. Thank you so much again for joining me. So, today, what I have is a summary of our planetary movement. I haven't talked about the planets in a while. I haven't talked to anyone in a while, so nice to see you again. Thanks for being here again with me, even though it's been a minute. But I just want to do a recap of the planets. It's been a while since I've talked about it, and I think it's important to touch base on it at least once a month, once every month and a half. I know I show them on the screen a lot, always letting you know where they are and what's going on, but we have never really talked about where the planets are in relation to each one of you, each one of the signs. So today, Cancer, I'm starting with you, and we're going to talk about how the planet's location can affect you. And our example is going to be the literal of what's going on right now in the sky. So what we have right now today, is the beginning of March. So in the beginning of March, basically it's March 10th right now when I'm doing this and when I'm going to post it, we have Mercury in Capricorn. Mercury is also about to be going into Aquarius. So in the next couple of days, by the middle of March, I'd say the 15th, Mercury will be in Aquarius. But what this means for us, when Mercury is directly across from you, like it is with it being in Capricorn, so we're Cancer, obviously, we're 180 degrees away from Capricorn. That is called being in an opposite, just like it says, being opposite to that sign. So not only are you opposite to the sign, but now we're also opposite to any planets in that sign. So for us, starting out in March, we're opposite of Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. All of those energies, they can create frustration and tension, but more than anything, it's just kind of this opposing pull. It doesn't have to be super negative. It's just definitely not super positive. What you want to understand is those planets and what they represent in your life right now. Being that they're in Capricorn, they're a little bit more structured, corporal, and regimented. But Mercury is communication. You're going to be a little bit juxtaposition to being able to communicate well right now. With Jupiter, that's the sign of like expansion and growth, optimism. You may not be feeling that right now. While Jupiter is in Capricorn, it is 180 degrees away from us, and that causes this little bit of anxiety that we have with anything to do with feeling very positive and like we are able to really move forward and have this just don't have to stress about the details kind of feeling that Jupiter will give you. But this isn't for everyone. This is specifically for Capricorn. Also Saturn, that is like responsibilities and obligations, laws, discipline, ambition, these very Capricorn-like feelings, this structure that I spoke of earlier. You're going to be feeling a little opposite that. You're going to be feeling like you don't want to deal with those things, like anything to do with even home obligations and work obligations. You're just going to want to be super not into those things. You're going to maybe have to anyway, but as a Cancer, you're going to naturally just be a little more not desiring that lifestyle. The bad thing about Saturn is that it moves really slow. So once it's in a position in your life, it's going to be there for a while. So like for Capricorn, or for like us, with it being in Capricorn, we're going to have this feeling of just not really being into responsibilities and obligations right now. We are an emotional free spirit, and we're going to focus on or naturally be pulled to things that are cohesive, part of that sequence for us. So let's just keep looking. I definitely don't want to bog down too much in the details in this video. I'm just trying to give you an understanding of how you're being affected and why. So with all of those items across from us, We just have to be aware of how that could affect us. That means that a large portion of life, when you have so many planets together, just large portions of life are opposed to us right now. We are very much kind of in the outside looking in on many aspects of life right now. So an example of where something is going not opposite, like we don't have to focus completely on all the negative, would be like anything in Taurus. Taurus is sextile to us. Sextile is, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily in a really good place, but it means you are in a place where you can work with it. You're not going to have any issues trying to work with those energies. And right now, the planet of Mars is inside Taurus. That is sextile to us. It is 2 signs away from us. It is, if you think about it, you cut your little chart up into like slices of a pie. Anything that is 30 degrees, 60 degrees, like that, 30s and 60s, those are going to be your more positive energies. If something is 90 and 180, it's going to be your more negative energy. If something is 0, if it's right with you, then you're going to be in tune with that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be super in your favor, but it's going to be very easy to work with that energy. So for us, Taurus is always a sign that is sextile to us, as well as Pisces and Capricorn, actually, as well as Scorpio and Virgo. But anything across from us doesn't count. That is not sextile. That's opposite. So our sextiles are really just Taurus, Pisces, Scorpio, and Virgo. Those are energies we can work with, whether it be at work, in a relationship, somebody that you're having to deal with, just in life, like a friend's mom, whoever. Those are energies that we're not going to necessarily not have problems with, because problems arise anywhere, but we're going to easily be able to meld with those energies. Now, if someone is 60 degrees away from you, that means it's going to be very comfortable. So while Taurus and Virgo are energies we can work with, Mercury, Scorpio and Pisces are 60 degrees away from us, and those are where we're called like triangular with those energies. Energy is going to flow very seamlessly. You're going to have very positive interactions with those other entities. When you're talking about the signs, this is very logical, because the signs that are 60 degrees away from you are your equal elements. So for us, Cancer, water, our equal element is Pisces and Scorpio, also water. So your water signs are going to be the most familiar with you. And then in the aspect of sextile, your closest, the ones that are closest to you are your they're not like your companion element. I don't really know how you would explain it, but they're not your negative element. They're the element that you work the best with. So in this case, it's earth. With us, it's water and earth. And then, it's air and fire. So air and fire work well together. Water and earth work well together. So just trying to give you an overall explanation of what it means when you're looking at the planets and why. So for right now, as we move through March, we'll just keep going. As we get into March 16th, a lot of things will have shifted. Not a ton, but enough. Like Mercury is now going to be in Aquarius. Communication is not going to be as opposing to us. It's going to be net neutral. Things that are directly beside you or directly beside your opposite, those are just net neutral. You have no positive or negativity towards that sign. even if it is a fire sign. It's not your worst fire sign. Like in our case, we are square to Aquarius or to Aries. So Aries is probably your worst fire sign to get along with as a water sign. And Libra is probably the most uncomfortable air sign to get along with. Your most favorable air sign is Aquarius, and Gemini. But I'm just rambling. This is kind of a rambly video today for everyone. I'm just kind of going through this to let people know where they're at. So in the middle of March, Capricorn is going to look pretty much the same with Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto still inside its hold. You're still going to be having those issues. But like I said, communication is going to have lessened and be a little bit more comfortable. Like in the beginning of March, Venus was in Aquarius. It had moved into Aquarius for us. Love was getting more comfortable. You're getting more lovey-dovey. But as we get into the middle of the month and even towards the end of the month, now Venus has moved into Pisces. So you're going to be very, very just kind of just a lovey-feely, emotional towards people, but definitely towards another Pisces, but generally this is just about love in general. And you being a Cancer are going to be, triangulated to the emotion of love. You're going to be triangulated to the sun, just that positive self energy. And you're also going to be beginning to be triangulated with Neptune. Neptune is still in Aquarius, but it is very close to moving into Pisces. And Mercury will even be moving into Pisces by the end of the month. So when Neptune, your dreamy, mystical, imaginative side is moving towards Pisces, that is like Pisces on Pisces right there. I believe Pisces is actually, it's ruled by Neptune. So when those two combined, everyone is going to be a little bit more just kind of intuitive and dreamy. But with you being triangulated to Neptune, triangulated to Pisces, and being water and water, we are going to be really feeling those Pisces energies coming our way. So the next thing that we can talk about is Aries. Aries is where... is it Uranus? Yeah. Uranus is currently in Aries. And Uranus is your unpredictable side, rebellion and reformation and change, just unpredictable change. Well, this is square to us. This energy of change is going to have this Aries passion in it that we do not mesh with. When something is square to you, it creates like a restriction. It's like there are two forces working in opposite directions. It's not quite like being opposite. When you're opposite, you just don't flow. Like it's like trying to go upstream. It's just not going to work. But when something is square to you, it's just like somebody like bumps you and spirals you out. To me, being square is actually worse than being opposite, because opposite, you're just so extremely different that you're just not even feeling it. You're not necessarily going to hate it, but you're just not into that. But when you're square to something, it is just an irritating feeling. It is like having a rock in your shoe kind of feeling. So this rebellious energy that that the world has, or that you are, anything inside of you where you're trying to like push against, the system, it's just not going to work. It's going to totally kind of blow up in your face, and it's just not going to be an ideal situation to get into anything, any big changes or any rebellious patterns or anything of that nature that requires you to go against the machine, as they say. So just be really careful how you're making changes in your life right now based on where the planets are. So the final planet that we can talk about is Mars being in Taurus. I didn't exactly touch on that other than to tell you it is sextile to us. And this means we're in a good place to collaborate. This means that's a good time to focus on any new passions you have, to work on any like passion projects, to focus on yourself and being ready to not ready to change, but just ready to act, being active and maybe even a little encouraging and competitive. These feelings that Mars gives us, you're going to be like just right in tune with that. And again, being sextile is different than being triangulated to something. When you're triangulated to something, it's like the opposite of being opposite of something, because it's like it just flows so seamlessly you don't even have to try. When you're sextile to something, it's like when you try something, you're not 100% sure, but it just works out. Things end up just working out in that area of your life. You're not necessarily drawn to it, and you may not feel like you're going to be successful, but you are. Where, like I said, when you're triangulated, you probably just have all this passion behind it too. Like you're just really like in the mood for that, if that makes sense. But that's really the best way I can explain it, is just things that are on, the farther side of your sphere are going to either, it's like yin and yang. They're either going to work or they're not going to work. Things that are a little closer to you in your sphere, they're either going to become successful or be completely unsuccessful. You're not going to have any clear pull or push to go with that route. But if you do, if you're naturally going to work, it's going to work. If it's naturally not going to work, it's going to be Murphy's Law. It's absolutely not going to work, even if you think it will. And not to say that every instance is going to be like that, but this is just a really good understanding of what, this is technically a birth chart is what they always call these, but these are like daily charts, and it just becomes your birth chart when you're born on that day. So when you're looking at this astrology chart of today, i.e. a birth chart, this is the energies and how they work for you. And so like if you are looking at your actual birth chart, that'll show you what you were born with, the energies that you were kind of born into that in that moment. I personally do not believe that a birth chart like dictates necessarily like long-term change in your life, but it can give you a good understanding of maybe some underlying factors in your life. They may not be the most important, the nature versus nurture. You can be born into a birth chart, but all the experiences of your life are going to dictate which factors of that chart become more relevant. That's nurture is just huge. I think it's by far 55%. It just literally is. So maybe not more. Maybe even more, depending on how you're raised and what kind of life you have and how well your life melds or doesn't meld with your birth chart. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into that. I know I've been a little bit rambly. I'm definitely going to go ahead and end it here. I do want to tell you that the new moon is going to start on the 12th inside of Virgo. It will start to look like a new moon in Leo. We're at like 98%, but when it's 100% at its peak, it will be in Virgo. So it's a Virgo new moon. This is sextile to us, so that's good positive energy for us. We meld well with that Virgo life, that emotion. And I also want to tell you that I'm going to post a video on the main channel going over the moon cycles from this point forward, so that you can watch the whole month or the whole cycle of the moon, because it's not necessarily month to month, but from new moon until the next new moon, you'll be able to see exactly when everything is falling, when it is falling for us. The final thing I would say is that just know that around the 24th, the moon is going to be in Cancer. So look out for any over emotional feelings you may have around the 23rd, 24th of the month. And I'm going to end it there. Thanks for sticking with me. If you've made it this far, you are a trooper, and you should definitely subscribe and stick around for other videos. I'll see you next time.